In CSS 2.1 you can apply only one background image to an element, so it's become common practice to wrap elements in divs solely for the purpose of adding extra background images. It's a nuisance and wasteful markup, so CSS 3 lets you add as many background images to an element as you want. The content div of this page already has a background image at the bottom, but I'd like to add another here at the top right. Doing so is very simple. You just add the details of subsequent images as a comma-separated list. So let's go to the style sheet, and you can see that I've already got the background image, background repeat, and background position properties defined. So to add another image, I just place my cursor, the insertion point, just before the semicolon at the end of background image, and insert a comma. And Dreamweaver automatically brings up code hints. It gives me the URL browser, so I'll click that and select my Grand Canyon tree JPEG image from my images folder and click OK. Now the problem is that I've got two URLs in the background image, so I also need to have two values for the other two properties. So for background repeat, I also don't want this one to repeat, so no repeat. And as you can see, Dreamweaver is bringing up the code hints for me. And I want the background position of this particular image to be at the top right. Now we always say top right, but for CSS it needs to be horizontal first, so it's right, top. And if I just go to design view and switch on live view, you can see that I've got two images there. Now you can immediately see two problems. One of them, of course, is that the text is going across the image, but that's easily fixed with a little bit of padding. The other one is that there's a very strong line here. The reason for that is that the way that multiple background images are inserted is that if they overlap, the first one appears on top and each subsequent one is layered behind. So what's happened here is that my new image has been put behind the original one. Now I can either change the order around, but I think that the first thing that I'm going to do is to see what happens if I change the padding on the first paragraph. So let's create an adjacent sibling combinator, h1 plus p, and we'll give that padding right 290 pixels. Yes, that's quite nicely fixed the problem that I had there. But if you do have a problem with images overlapping, remember that it's the first one that goes on top and each subsequent one is painted behind. Although the padding has fixed that problem, you might be wondering what happens with old versions of Internet Explorer 6, 7 and 8. Well, the answer is sadly that they won't display either of these background images. But all is not lost. You can in fact get them to display one of the background images. And the way in which you do that is to have two definitions. Both of the definitions must use the background shorthand property. So what I need to do first is just copy that first background image there and then delete the second image from that property, and I need to convert it into the background shorthand property. So it's going to be background, then the URL for the Grand Canyon, and I want it to be no repeat, and that needs to be center bottom. Then I need to convert the second definition also into shorthand. So it's going to be the Grand Canyon. I want that to be no repeat. I have to add that there before the comma, and the tree one is also no repeat. That goes with that URL. And then I need to move the background position. So for the first one, the background position goes there, and the background position for the second one goes there. Just get rid of those and save it. Now, fingers crossed. Now you can see that I've got the original background of the page showing through there, so we just need to have one more little thing to fix it. I need to add in the background color and make that white. There we are. You can see that it's still working in live view, so that means that it will work in a WebKit browser and in fact any other modern browser. But what about Internet Explorer 6? Let's have a look. Here it is in Internet Explorer 6. You can see that the first background image, the one of the Grand Canyon at the bottom, is displayed, but the second background image of the tree at the top right is not displayed, and it will look the same in Internet Explorer 7 and Internet Explorer 8. The only thing for those two browsers that you will need to do, because 7 and 8 recognize the adjacent sibling combinator, you'll need to use an Internet Explorer conditional comment to create a different rule for the padding for that first paragraph, to prevent it from being pushed over to the left. So you can keep even older versions of Internet Explorer happy with multiple background images. Visitors using one of those browsers see only the first image, everyone else sees the multiple images.